Hi everyone, it's Dr. Crater here to talk to you a little bit about community college students, specifically in regard to developmental education. I want to thank you for the work you've been doing on your discussion board posts and your opinion papers and your interaction with your peers in relation to exploring a little bit about your opinions and thoughts regarding the purpose and mission of community colleges and the skills that are required to be an effective leader in these type of institutions. Really appreciate the work that you've done. And I want to talk a little bit about one of the challenges that community colleges face, which is the developmental education coursework and remediating students out of Dev Ed into college level courses. As you may or may not know, assessment testing is one of the first steps in the admissions process at a community college. So almost immediately after application is accepted and processed, a student is faced with the daunting task of taking a placement test that is gauging math and reading levels right from the start. So you can imagine many of our students who are older, non-traditional, have been out of high school for several years, maybe never went to college before. This is their first experience to be faced with a test that's asking them to solve equations and engage in comprehensive reading materials. It's a little daunting for them. And so what I wanted to tell you about are the staggering numbers regarding developmental education. And Thomas Bailey was the former president of the Community College Research Center, and he did some research that found that 28% of incoming community college students are referred to developmental education coursework but don't enroll. So there's a larger number that are testing in overall, but 28% of the students who do test in are referred to developmental education but never actually enroll in those courses. So we wonder if that's from feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, or I obviously don't have the skills to keep going. You know, we look at all of these thoughts that these students may have and wonder why they did not enroll. 30% of the students who test into developmental education fail or withdraw from those courses that first semester. 10% of the students who are referred to developmental education coursework drop without ever failing, meaning they withdraw or don't even attend at all. They just quit coming to the classes, and they don't fail, but they don't withdraw either. They just stop out. 31% of the students who tested into college remediation coursework successfully complete the math Dev Ed sequence. Only 31%. So if you do the math there, that tells you that 69% are not completing their developmental math education sequence. If the students complete, so we have 31% who successfully do complete, only half of those actually go on to successfully complete a college level math course within the next 3 years. So you can see the epidemic and the challenge that we have regarding remedial education coursework, most particularly math. English, the numbers are a little better, but math remains our biggest challenge. When you look at the spending, Thomas Bailey finds that over $1 billion is spent every year trying to provide services to these students, providing instructors to teach these remedial education coursework, the wraparound services such as tutoring. So it's a huge concern for us at the community college, especially when we are facing the changing funding structures that are now tied to performance-based funding, and our students aren't able to get through those sequences, which then delays time toward graduation. So I wanted to just share with you some of those numbers so that you can see the challenges. What have we done so far? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation continues to build off of their Achieving the Dream initiative and encourage colleges to find best practices and share those. So they offer grant money to our institutions to try to find ways to remediate students. We do things such as the ASAP model, which we found from the SUNY system in New York, where we provide intensive wraparound services around students who are at risk, most particularly in regard to remedial education. We also have tried the accelerated learning programs. They're called ALPS, where students who are at the top of the testing for developmental education but not quite at college level, they take part in an accelerated learning program where they're actually in the college level course while also completing some of the remediation at the same time, because they're right there and very close. We've tried bridges, so there are 2-week intensive courses for students who test in developmental ed. They retest at the end of that session and see if they have placed up to the higher level course, the college level course. One thing that I was doing as Dean of Students at the Eastern Campus of Tri-C is starting earlier and looking at how do we work with our secondary education partners, high schools, middle schools, to remediate students way before they ever get to us. What are we doing to look back in the communities and help those students become college ready? One approach that we took is we tested 8th graders going into the 9th grade. They were at remedial education. We provided them with an intensive summer experience at our college where they worked with our professors in English and math and remediated before the end of that summer into college level coursework. So these are some of the things that we continue to try to explore to help this population of students, but there's certainly much more work to be done. So I tell you all of this to begin thinking about missions. We talk about missions all the time. One of the most important aspects of the mission of community colleges is access. Our policy is open door. Every student who wants the chance to learn has the opportunity to attend our institutions, including those who are not college ready in terms of math and reading placement scores. So I want you to think about this as you begin working with your groups and researching your institutions, the mission of access. We know that it's there. How do we continue to decrease the number of students enrolling in DevEd? How do we increase the numbers of students in DevEd completing the sequences and then progressing to college level and successfully completing those while staying true to our mission of access and opportunities? So often we get referrals from 4 years for students who are not quite ready to start there who come back to us. And so we, again, our mission is open access to our institution and our learning opportunities. So I want you to think with the lens of a college leader of how you address these types of things when developing your mission statements and not losing sight of the core of what community colleges are, which is access to everybody who wants that chance at an education. So thanks for listening. We'll continue to post various videos from leaders across various community colleges here in the state, and we appreciate, again, you're listening to these videos, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in the class.